Let's get it.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for the chat slash muting issues, but hopefully, if you can't join our chat, then perhaps you can save your question for at the end, and you can come off of your mics and videos and ask our PMs yourself of your questions. All right, so welcome to our champions call in April. First, with any sort of Microsoft event, either digital, in person, hybrid, this is our event code of conduct. Not going to dole over the slide, but essentially be kind, be welcoming, and creating a safe and welcoming environment. So if you want to learn more about what this code of conduct is, you can feel free to click on this slide link right here. Our agenda today, I'm going to go over a couple announcements, some top M365 updates. We're going to have our special guests, Mika and Joey from Teams Community, talking about the product today, as well as the demo, and then our community events and updates. And then lastly, your favorite open discussion where you're able to ask our product managers here today your questions. All right. First, the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. We are T-minus 1 week away to next week to have this conference in Walt Disney Swan and Dolphin Resort. So this was already mentioned in our newsletter, but just in case you didn't see it, we do have a very special offer because this is so short and so upcoming to our conference. We have secured one for you all. It is a BOGO, buy one, get one free offer. I have not heard of such an elusive offer being offered in other conferences before, but that's just me. But all in all, I'm really happy that we're supposed to secure this. But essentially, this deal, when you're purchasing the conference pass, you can enter BOGO, BOGO, and that will basically you pay full price for that conference pass. But then on email, you're going to get another coupon code that will for the second person a free pass, essentially. So this offer cannot be retroactively applied. So if someone or you already purchased one, then unfortunately there is no way to apply this after the fact. And then next is that this offer is not applicable for workshops. So workshop-wise, you still have to pay for whatever the workshop price is. And if you do that, then you will be prompted for your card information when you're trying to check out. But very excited for this. If you're in the area, if you're maybe on the ledge of coming or not, you should definitely come. This is one of the largest gatherings of Microsoft 365 topics. In fact, Joey from our call today will be there, so you can also meet in person, chat with him, as well as many of our Microsoft leaders such as Caruana, Jeff Teeper, Adam Harms, and many more. So it's definitely a very large congregation of Microsoft 365, of course, Copilot and other AI topics as well. So we're really looking forward to the call. Looking forward to the conference. All right, next, Mondays at Microsoft with Caruana and Heather. We have a community page on LinkedIn called the Microsoft Community. And essentially, Mondays at Microsoft is a bi-weekly show. It's twice a month, I believe, that aggregates new product announcements, essentially upcoming community events such as the conferences. And essentially, you can just listen to Caruana and Heather over about like a 1 hour coffee style, fireside style chat. And they've done all the hard work of congregating all the Microsoft updates and telling you what's relevant and all the newest releases. So they also post show notes. If you don't have time to watch the whole thing, you can read their show notes, or you can catch the recap all on the Microsoft Community on LinkedIn. So highly recommend you check out that space. Follow us on LinkedIn. We also post some exclusive discount codes for not only our conferences, but all community related conferences. All right, Jesse, updates on AMC.
Hello, everyone. Just a few updates. These are just the highlights as well. So we did launch a new site called Leading in the Era of AI, and it's providing leadership guidance on the adoption of AI in their organizations. A couple white papers there from Caruana Katimu, our manager, as well as some other work across our greater ecosystem that lends to this the thought leadership. We also launched the new Planner microsite. If you weren't able to join us for the live event, please check it out. The site, we have a link to the recording as well as the AMA that followed the day after that. So a lot of fun stuff coming. It started GA rollout, and it should be completing rollout very soon here. We also have a couple app templates to the Emergency Operations Center. Check that out there. Tiffany also works on that. So let's give her a quick shout out and a applause on that one. We also added the town halls. I know this has been a long time coming, but we finally got with the team to work on a page that highlights town halls. Look at all those hand claps. Town halls. And then we're in the process of updating the virtual event playbook to include the town halls information as well. So watch for that at the end of the month. We're working fast and furious, going through final proofreading and content review this week. Hoping to have it launched next week before the conference, the M365 conference, but otherwise it'll be, close, maybe early first week of May. We also launched a microsite for Copilot resources in education. Now, this is not Copilot for education, not for EDU. These are just resources that would work in this vertical. And this is higher education, remember. So this is for students 18 and older. But go check it out. There's some great stuff for teachers, for instructors and educators, and as well as parents and guardians. A few updates to the Frontline Success Kit for our teams for frontline workers. There are also more updates coming for that page in that area with the team we're working on. I can't announce anything yet because we're still kind of brainstorming, but we're hoping to get a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline there. New backgrounds. If you haven't checked out our custom backgrounds gallery in a while, go check it out. I do check, me personally, review all submissions through the link there every month. And then we also get backgrounds from corporate as well, of course. And so Earth Day was technically yesterday, but it's Earth Day month. So if you want to add a new background, you can check it out there. Lastly, we have a new slide. And the reason I'm calling out specifically a new slide, normally we don't do this, but there's a new Copilot skilling experiences slide in multiple guides that we have in the Copilot Success Kit because Copilot is so, top of mind. And so we wanted to make sure we highlighted this change. It's an additional slide in those guides there and the training kit. So you can download those directly or just download the full kit again. Or we are constantly making updates to those guides, and we'll try to call those out in our release notes as well, which you can go read or you can subscribe to the RSS feed. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, special shout out to those backgrounds. I'm always looking for high quality, special backgrounds, and that's literally where it's congregated on our dolphin.microsoft.com backgrounds gallery page. And yes, we do post all our slides as well as the recording on our Champions Resources link. So if Jesse can post that in the chat soon for us. All right, so next, first, our Microsoft 365 updates. Our first is our Teams update, Discover, Feed, and Channel. So I'm really excited about this. Essentially, it's really hard to keep track of what's going on across the company and whatnot. And essentially, there could be like a post and such that you're missing. So almost kind of like the Explore feed on Instagram or essentially feeds in LinkedIn as well. So you have a Discover feed in Channel. So they may not be directly mentioning you or your team, but it is the most, popular, most relevant content that is being clicked upon or looked at in your all across your company. And so you're able to essentially discover posts in channels and discover information relevant to you in channels and teams. So if you want to learn more, you can click on that link in the hot link in the slide or visit our slides after the fact, after our call today to learn more. All right, next, voice isolation in Teams. So if you're at a coffee shop, there's might be other people's voices and you want it to concentrate on your voice. It is an AI-based advanced noise suppression features that basically eliminates unwanted background noise. So I've always really liked using voice isolation, and I'm so appreciative that a lot of times it's built in because my dogs will bark at anything that moves. So as for example, calls like this, I'm easily distracted, and I hope that the people in my calls aren't distracted like yours. But this just takes it to another level because as we're might be traveling, coming up on the spring, summer seasons, voice isolation is more important than ever. You may be visiting family at the airport, whatnot. So you can essentially enable this. Looking at my GIF right here on how to enable it. and your voice will be the one that's focused on. And this should be already available, if not coming to your tenant soon. Next, Copilot. Copilot Academy is now generally available. So, and now in this era of AI, skilling your employees is more important than ever. We are happy to announce that built into the Viva Learning experience is a training experience called the Copilot Academy. Currently, in order to use the Academy today, your tenant must have access to one, Copilot from Microsoft 365, and two, to have a paid license of either Viva Learning or Viva Suite. However, starting in Q3 of this year, Copilot Academy will be available to anyone that has a Copilot for Microsoft 365 license at no additional cost. Will not acquire a Viva license. But again, super happy to essentially bring this Copilot learning experience to you. And I highly encourage you to look through the experience, perhaps build out an experience for your workers that you would like them to learn, and then go ahead and utilize that built-in experience to have them learn more about Copilot. All right, next, Microsoft Copilot for introducing restricted SharePoint search. I know this has been a highly requested feature, and so restricted SharePoint search will roll out starting next month for customers with this Copilot Microsoft 365 license. Essentially, if you don't want to overshare content, we still honestly highly recommend that you do go through your sharing settings, looking through your documentation settings so that Copilot will show the most relevant information to you. However, if you do need some of that buffer time between, going 0 to 100 for Copilot, then you do have the ability to turn on to restricted SharePoint search, and then it will limit Copilot to basically being able to search a select SharePoint sites. Again, we hope that this is temporary for you, and you will turn on Copilot for your entire tenant settings.
You're fucking clueless.
Yeah, if you can mute this person. Yes, so apologies. We typically mic and video off for most of our attendees, but I don't know why that's not happening today, but we were finally a bug. All right, so yes, if you are interested in this feature, you can follow the status of the thread in the public roadmap. All right, this might be my last slide. So in Microsoft Forms, I'm excited about this one because this is a Forms data sync to Excel. Essentially, now you don't have to go into that form and download that in Excel sheet every time. It will basically sync to your Excel workbook in real time. So you can just have that workbook live, and you don't have to just open Forms every single time, downloading form every time, which one's in the latest version of it. And so I'm really excited about this. Feel free to check out this feature in Forms and read that blog to learn more. All right, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Mika and Joey. I believe, Joey, you're in control of the slide, so feel free to take over slide, Joey.
All right, I think I have control. Hey, everybody, thanks for being here. Wow, over 500 people from around the world. I saw a bunch of you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We should have got together at the downtown Minneapolis Microsoft office. We could have had a little party while we're in this session. But hey, appreciate you all being here. Appreciate you all troubleshooting Teams with us. It wouldn't be a Teams meeting without a little bit of troubleshooting, but that's how it goes. We are super excited to be here, super excited to tell you a little bit about communities in Teams. My name is Joey Tarlson. I lead our community team for Teams, and Mika Oksanen is on the call as well. We're going to share with you a little bit about the free personal version of Teams, specifically communities. So what is Teams for personal use? I'm sure many of you right now might actually be dialing into this meeting via Teams for personal use. So as we all know, Teams is used for work, for SMB, for education all around the world by hundreds of millions of people every single day. Teams is also used with a personal account, with an MSA account, as we call it at Microsoft. So right now on Windows 11, you may have two different Teams applications on your desktop. You might have Microsoft Teams Work or School. You might also have a separate Microsoft Teams application. Super confusing to our end users. And the good news is that we are working to bring all of Teams together into one single app. It's already rolling out right now. It will be releasing on Mac and Windows 10 in the next couple of weeks. It will have full general availability on Windows 11. A few weeks after that, we're targeting mid to late June or early July on that. And at that date, there will be one single application on your desktop, Microsoft Teams, that allows you to seamlessly switch between multiple different work accounts, personal accounts, education accounts, different tenants, different cloud environments, all in the same Microsoft Teams app. If any of you have the Teams app on your mobile device right now, it already exists. If you tap your profile picture in the upper left-hand corner, you can see that you can add a different account. You can add a personal account, another work tenant to be able to seamlessly switch. So that all is coming to the single unified Teams application on desktop. It's rolling out right now and will be generally available very soon. We're very excited for that. So what is Teams for personal use? So the best way to think about Teams for personal use is a very similar mental model to how you think about Teams for work without the tenant walled garden. So in a Teams work environment or a school environment, an admin, of course, sets up your Teams environment, and then everybody within that walled garden has access. And we've got ways to invite external guests and different things like that. The major difference in Teams for personal use is that you can use it to set up a call, to chat, to set up a community with anybody you want. So in Teams for personal use, we have a lot of the same functionality that you see in Teams for a work environment or a school environment. You can share files among a community. You can schedule meetings, have a shared calendar among a community, share photos, have posts and responses to those posts. You can chat with whoever you want anytime. The main difference is that anybody can use it for free, and you can invite anybody that you want to your community. So let's talk about communities specifically. Communities in Teams is very similar to the Teams construct in a work or a school environment. So a community allows you to have multiple different channels, allows you to invite whoever you want in to connect with and to collaborate with on an ongoing basis. So if you think about your team at work or your team at school, you're generally working on a lot of different projects at any given point in time, and that collaboration is really persistent over a longer period of time. So not only can you schedule kind of one-off meetings or have one-off chats with anybody you want anytime in the personal version of Teams, you can also spin up a community with your frequent collaborators. Think your parent-teacher conference, your parent-teacher association at school, think your homeowners association, think your fantasy football league or your investment club, or really any other group of people in your life that you collaborate with on an ongoing basis, month over month or week over week. You can create a community for them inside Teams. It allows you to chat anytime. It allows you to schedule meetings as a cohort. It allows you to share files with each other, share photos with each other, really kind of move your life and your project forward asynchronously and then live in meetings with video calls as well. Communities in Teams are really optimized for personal use. So like in Teams for Work, you can use channels to keep those conversations together. They've got threaded conversations. You can share photos, files. You can use Microsoft Designer inside Teams. There is a community calendar. So everyone within your community is on the same page, has the ability to add upcoming meetings to their personal calendars. And then finally, you have a lot of the same tools that your admin has in the work or school environment, but as a community owner. So you can manage the content that is posted to your community. You can remove community members if they're no longer active. You can invite new community members if they join your nonprofit or your project that you're working on. And so you really, as the community creator, have full control. The best way to understand it is to just jump right into a demo, and my good friend Mika on the other end of the country over in Redmond, Washington, is going to take over and show you a demo of communities in Teams now.
Thanks, Joey. And I just start sharing my screen from here. And of course, because we like to live on the edge, I'm doing a live demo. That's how we roll. Let's see if it's coming through. I'm still seeing the slide here in the meeting room. Okay, now I'm seeing communities. here we are in Teams for personal use. This is my personal test account. I have many, but this one is the one I use. And there was already quite a few interesting and good questions in the meeting chat. I won't be able to address them all right away, but there was a question about that. Is this the same thing as Teams and channels in Teams for Work? Yes and no, in a way. You could argue that the concept is fairly similar, but if you think about Teams and channels, that is a very complex construct. And now that we are talking about Teams for personal use, for home users, maybe people who are not as tech savvy, it has to be simplified and it has to be then optimized for personal use, like Joey already mentioned. And this is what communities are. So it does, I believe, leverage some of the backend structure and code even used for Teams and channels, but it's still separate from those. And that's why we call them communities. We're not calling them Teams and channels in this version of Teams. And as you can see here on the left, this user is already in 3 communities. The first 2 are actual active communities, and this third one, Kirkland Gardening, is purely a test community I created with this test user. And one important thing about communities is that we have currently 2 roles. We have community owners and we have community members. And sure enough, the one who creates a new community is a community owner who can then promote other people to be community owners as well. And they do have then more permissions than the community members, who are basically just the users who are a part of that community, but cannot then do as much as the owners can do. There's a lot to cover here. We are not going to go and spend time to see each and every bell and whistle included here. But I'll just give you an overview what you can do here to give you some understanding that how these communities work and what's possible. Of course, what you see already here on the posts tab is a couple of community events I've created with this user. And if you think about it, most of those real life groups Joey mentioned, like whether it's a PTA, whether it's your homeowners association, it could be a hobby club, it could be a book club, it could be almost anything. In many cases, those communities or groups do in fact revolve around calendar. Today, we know that many people are using Google Calendar for those kind of things, and then they use a variety of tools to communicate, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Slack, or all of the above. And that's where Teams can, in this space, do pretty much the same thing as with Work. Bring all those things together so that you have the community calendar as the foundation, so to say. And then you can, of course, do all that engagement and collaboration on top of that. And the community events, I believe this community doesn't have any active upcoming events right now. But to create one, it's fairly simple. If you have ever been using Teams, it looks very familiar. You can do online or offline events here. The difference, of course, is that if you make it an offline event, there's no Teams meeting link for joining the event, because we do know that some communities, in fact, do meet outside Teams as well. And you can use this thing then, of course, for both. It's very simple, as you can see, to get a community event created, whether it's your next gathering or board meeting or whatnot, homeowner association monthly. You can just do it right here. You can, of course, as easily create new posts. The cool thing here, which is slightly different than what you see in Teams for Work, is this tiny checkbox, which makes a whole lot of difference. It might be, in fact, one of my favorite communities features of them all. Because when you post in your community members who are actively using Teams, they, of course, will see it right away. We do know, though, that people who use Teams for personal use might not be using it as actively as I guess all of you are, like me, on a daily basis all the time, just looking at that Teams window. Home users, personal users, maybe not so much. And this little checkbox here, if I check it and create a new post in the community, it will send the same post via email to all community members. And if you think about it, that is just the best way to bring all those community members back to your community to take a look what else is going on there, to reactivate that population who might have already forgotten that, hey, by the way, I'm also in this Teams community. It's a very cool, clever little feature. You can also, of course, as we are talking about Teams, you can do announcements, which are then slightly more popping out type of posts. And as you can expect, you can use a designer to make those banners really strike out, that they are gorgeous, beautiful, and make them really reflect what that conversation or announcement is about. But as you can see, everything looks fairly familiar from Teams for Work. There are some differences though, so you might have already seen that there's something slightly different here. And if you even look at the left rail, that is an example of our visual refresh, which is happening in Teams for personal use. Because we know that the audience is different. It is, for many people, not a work tool, even though some very small businesses might be using the free version, the personal version of Teams to run business-like stuff. It is still for those home users predominantly. And we are making this whole thing to look nice and simple and clean. So just to differentiate a bit more from Teams for Work, because that is a work tool, and this is then, of course, for non-work. Other things you can do here is, like Joy mentioned, you can share photos, you can share files. They will all end up nicely, like photos, they will end up nicely on this Photos tab. And this community, of course, is a bit boring because there's not much stuff in this one. As a community owner, I can edit all the details, the community name, I can update the description. And one really important thing is community guidelines. When you have new people joining the community, with the guidelines, you can pretty much set the stage that what is okay in your community, what's your community for, and how people should be engaging there, and what are the things that they should or should not be doing. It's a couple of additional controls as well. As a community owner, you are in full control of the community. You can make it an open community that if somebody gets your community join link, anybody can join. Or you can use this option, require approval to join, to gate the entry, that you have to then approve those join requests. And you don't need to approve them one by one, but then of course you can somehow be the gatekeeper to make sure that all the right folks are joining your community. And this second option here, which talks about visibility, is a very powerful little toggle. If you enable this one, it will make your community appear when somebody goes to Teams for personal use and uses the search box at the top. For example, if I would go and use the search for something like aviation enthusiasts Seattle, so I might find a related community already popping up, or it could be coffee lovers in Pacific Northwest. I might find something. So this is the way, again, to make your community more visible. But of course, we know that not every community is alike. If you're doing your homeowner association community, you very likely don't want to make it visible. And you quite likely want to also require approval to join, that it's then very much gated. But you can use the same exact feature to make it a more open community that everybody can join and still be in control, because you always can remove community members. You can always block them as well. And when I go here, well, this one is of course a bit empty. It's just me at this point. There are different tabs here. I can see all the member requests coming in, if there should be any, if I should have that require approval to join, if I have already blocked some users because they were not exactly following those community guidelines, and a couple of settings, for example, creating a new community join link if for whatever reason the old one is getting abused or whatnot. So in that sense, the community owners are very much in control of what is going on here. For community owners, there's also one really cool thing, which is maybe not super intuitively called community bot. But what this guy is doing is also extremely powerful. And this could be maybe one of my other favorite features in communities. If the send posts via email was one, this definitely welcome messages are another. And what this means that when I configure this welcome message to be delivered by community bot, it means that when somebody joins my community, they will get a nice message, which I'm preparing here, explaining that what this community is about, what you should be doing there, what you should not be doing there. And it's almost like a warm welcome and another way to set the stage that this is basically what the community is about. It's a very nice little feature, and I'm thinking that anybody creating a community in Teams, this is probably the first thing you should do, that you have to basically make those new members feel welcome when they join. A very cool feature. Very much like it. This is basically a quick summary of the owner tools. You might have seen this announcements thingy here and wondering that, okay, so what is this? Well, that's a channel. In communities, we do have channels as well, and today it goes up to, I believe, 5 channels you can have in a community, plus, of course, a general channel. And this is pretty much the same way as in Teams for Work, that you can then categorize conversations to be on specific channels. It could be announcements, it could be meeting notes, it could be around some specific feature or whatnot. Those can be different channels. And these, of course, can be then edited and deleted as needed, all in the same community. It's very quiet here, but I could easily invite a couple of more folks, either using their email addresses or phone numbers. And what this means, as we are talking about the home users or personal users, anybody can join. You don't need to have a license to use Teams for personal use. You don't need to have a subscription to be able to use it. I can just put any email address, any phone number here, and then that person will be receiving an invite to join. And when they just use the same email address or the same phone number to sign in or sign up to Teams, they will then end up in the community, which means that it's very, very easy to get the right folks with you in your newly created community. So that's how you get it going. And that is basically what the owners can do in a nutshell. Just to make it look more real, let's look at the actual communities here. So this Disc Golf Tour Talk is one very active community. And it was set up, I think, Joey, a couple of months ago, and it has seen a very fast growth. It's very active. These people are super passionate about what they do, and they come here to this Teams community to share things. We have the pro disc golfers doing almost like AMA type of things. So it's a very nice way to bring all these folks together and get close to their heroes, being the disc golf pros. It's very vibrant. There's a lot of discussion. You can see reactions, discussions, everything going on. It's a very active community. We do have another one right here as well called Teams Insider Community. And it says Teams Insider. This Teams Insider is a preview program for this version of Teams. And I believe this community is closer to 5,000 members, also very active, a lot of discussion going on. And it really brings those folks together who want to discuss and engage and collaborate around a specific topic. In this case, of course, it is Teams for personal use. So that's in a nutshell what we can do in communities. Of course, now that we are talking about Teams for personal use, you see that there's very familiar items here. You see activity feed, very much the same as you would see in Teams for Work, and chat, which here just illustrates a little how these different Teams editions in fact do talk to each other. For example, this chat, which I'm highlighting currently right now, is between this test user of mine being a personal account and then my actual Microsoft Work account. So you can, you might have known, of course, already, but you can chat between these two different Teams versions. There was a question that whether Teams for Work users can join Teams communities, and the answer is that today no. So you will need to have your personal account to join, which you could argue that might not necessarily be a bad thing if you use your Teams for Work account for work stuff. And then if you, let's say, join your homeowners association community, you might in fact prefer using your own personal account and not going there with your work account, just to keep those two things separate. Because like we discussed and like Joey covered, these different accounts will be coming into a single Teams app very soon. And you can then have your work account in the Teams app, you can have your personal account in the same Teams app, and they work side by side, but still fully separate. And there's no bleeding over, and there's no way that those things get mixed up. So even though it's the same app, they are still separate.
Hey, Mika, do you want to jump in, rather than going back to the slides around meeting interoperability, since we're going to demo again, do you want to jump into meeting interop?
Yeah, I was, good call. I was about to, because now that we're already doing a little product tour, might as well go to the calendar tab. And when we talk about how these different Teams editions work together, so it already was established that you can chat between these things. And everything is coming into a single Teams app, very much in the spirit of one Microsoft Teams. Good news here is that it will also apply to Teams meetings. And we know that there's, I don't know how many Teams meetings happening on a daily basis. It has to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And there has been a little trouble sometimes when joining Teams meetings if it's organized by a Teams for Work user, and then you have a home or personal user joining those things, especially on Windows 11, where you might have ended up joining the meeting in browser as a guest, even though you had your Teams personal app right there with a signed-in account, and you thought that you can use it for that job interview, for example, but then you ended up joining in browser, which is not maybe the best experience today. With meeting interoperability, these things will just work both ways. If you have a Teams for Work meeting, Teams for personal users can join those meetings with their personal accounts. If a Teams for personal user creates a meeting, Teams for Work or school users can join those meetings also with their work or school accounts. You always have the option to go as a guest if you want to. And if you should be one of those users who quite soon will have several accounts in the same Teams app, let's say one for work, one personal, then depending on the Teams meeting invite you get, the right preferred account will be picked up automatically. For instance, if you get invited to your homeowners association meeting and you have your personal account in the Teams app, that one will be then suggested that, hey, you might want to join with this one. But if for whatever reason you don't have the right account, then of course you can go with the other account. And this meeting here, you see in calendar, I just scheduled this one today, and it is from my Microsoft Work account. And I invited this personal user. And what this interoperability means, it's a huge word for something as simple as what in the end happens. It's just when I hit join button here, as you can see, I will be just joining right here in the Teams app with this personal account, even though the meeting is a Teams for Work meeting. So in that sense, you could argue that I guess this is how it maybe should have been always, but we are now finally making it happen that you can then use your signed-in account to join the meeting. And it, of course, makes a lot of sense. And you are always in full control, so you don't need to use that account. So you can always decide on the meeting join screen which account to use for that Teams meeting. It's just in the end of the day will mean that for most people, because they just typically have one Teams account, whether it's work or personal, things will just work smoothly. So I guess that basically covers the demo part. Joey, do you want to take over, and maybe we can then cover that Q&A?
Yeah, Tiffany, do you want to reshare the deck from your machine? I'm not sure. Do we go right into Q&A right now?
Sure. So I do have a couple more slides, and then we can go into Q&A.
Cool.
But yeah, we do have a good amount of questions in chat. If anyone, if you or Mika wanted to take a stab at those, and then we'll go into Q&A where folks that have been waiting so patiently can come off of mic and cameras to ask questions themselves. All right, so a couple slides and then we will get into Q&A. Here we go. Here's some of our upcoming community events. Currently going on is CommsB Next in Denver, Colorado. Of course, next week, the Microsoft 365 Community Conference that I talked about. June, we're going to have our TechCom PWRCon in Seattle, and then in DC in August. All right. Again, these slides will be in our uploaded deck on the Champions Resources page, including our community-produced events, our community-led events. And then next, I just want to remind everyone that our next call is on May 28th. We're going to have Kirwana finally come back and talk about our Copilot Success Kit. So it'll be nice to see her back here. And you can all reunite, ask her your most desired questions. All right, so last but not least, we want to make sure you give us your feedback today. Of course, I know we're having some issues on audio and such, but yes, anything you would like to hear more about, such as upcoming calls, upcoming products, feel free to give us that so that I can decide what our next sort of Rolodex of topics for our upcoming year is. All right, now without further ado, I think we can get to our Q&A. I know that Denise has been waiting very patiently. So Denise, if you have your question, you can go ahead and ask us. Stop sharing as well.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've been using Teams Personal for a long time, and I started using Community last year. But one of the big issue that I'm wondering if this new incorporation would help with is now, does it allow, if you share your screen, to take control of the other person's computer, in like the way the corporate account allows you to do that? Although the corporate account doesn't seem to allow that if you created a meeting with an external person that doesn't have a work or school account. And so that's one of the things that I had a nightmare over the weekend trying to help my brother with something, because we were on Teams. I said, share your screen, and I'm expecting that, okay, give me control, and that couldn't work. I go on my work account and invited him. We can talk, we can share, but you still can't take control because he doesn't have a work or school account. So does the new change allow that ability?
A good question, and the answer is unfortunately not at this point. We are tracking to add this capability to the Teams personal version as well, but it's not there yet. But it is something that will be coming in the near future.
Okay. And then a follow-up to that, you said anyone can join the community, but when you invite someone, do they get the ability to join this community, or do they get an invite to create a Microsoft account before they can join?
So when they get the invite on that email address or phone number, they can go and try to sign in. And if it turns out that there's no Microsoft account with that email address or phone number, one account will be then created for them as they go through the process. So in that sense, you could say that the sign in and sign up is almost the same process these days. That if we do not find an account existing, a personal account with that email address or phone number, it will get created as you go. So in that sense, it can be either way. If you have already one, you can just use that one. If not, one will be created with that email address or phone number.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Anyone want to come off of mute and ask their question? Okay, going once. If not, we can all go. Oh, we have a hand raise. Okay, go ahead, Tambara.
Thank you very much. So I don't know if it's the same platform. So it's related to Microsoft Teams and Copilot license. So we just recently purchased a Copilot license for the executive team, in my organization. Then they were actually joining a board meeting. So what we did with Action, start recording. Then when the meeting ends, we couldn't see the Copilot generated meeting minutes. So maybe I thought maybe you can just speak to that if I did it right or if I did it wrong or some sort. Thanks, and over.
So Copilot and Teams for personal use, there's no Copilot powered features there as of today. But as you can imagine, Copilot is very much in the heart of Microsoft these days. And sure enough, we are thinking about how we make those experiences work the best way in this personal version as well. There are still quite a few unknowns and open questions how those things will be then released. And we are internally testing out those features already. But there's no Copilot powered features in Teams for personal use today, like mentioned. But they are coming surely. When? I cannot give you any timeline because the honest answer is that we don't have any timeline yet, because we really want to make it so that those features will be then adding value. Like you said, meeting notes, very powerful, quite likely something that we will be shipping in some way. Is it going to be exactly the same way as in Teams Work? Not necessarily, because we are still talking about the different edition of Teams. When it comes to licensing, I guess we have still some questions because, of course, work and personal are different in a way. And that's why we don't have any good answers to give you today, but we'll be giving you more information in the coming months.
Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa, I think I see your hand is next.
Hi, happy Tuesday, everyone. So here's my question with personal and work and school account. I understand that you have to put your telephone number in there. My business standard account is tied to my only number that I have. Can I use the same number for personal?
A good question.
The first part of the question, you do not have to use a phone number to access Teams for personal. You can use a personal email address or a personal phone number. Just to clarify there, but in regards
to even with that, I would still use my same email address. Like I want to, I don't want to create another email address or put in the incorrect number in there to be able to use either one, right? Because I want to connect with my family through the personal one, which is the same email address and telephone number, and then I have my business side.
Yeah, so on that note, you cannot use the same email address for your Teams for Work and Teams for Personal accounts. I know that it was possible a couple of years ago, but it was causing so much trouble and so many challenges that it's not possible today. Which means that if you are using that email address already in your Teams for Work account, then you need to have a different email address for your personal account, unfortunately.
Thank you for that.
Awesome. Lesigo? I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Lesigo, are you there? Can you hear us? Can you unmute? If not, we'll come back to you. All right, Michael, you're next. Oh, that mute button is playing games with you. I can see it. If you can't unmute, you can go ahead and drop your question in the chat. Oh, nope, we lost it.
I think the mute button is very slow because the meeting is pretty large.
Yeah. Michael, do you want to drop your question in the chat and we'll get to that there, and then I'll move on to
Yeah, I see the question now in the meeting chat.
great.
And I think there was some similar questions in the meeting chat even before. So yes, your tenant policy controls whether personal accounts are allowed in the same Teams app, which means that as tenant admin, you are in control. If you want to not allow your users to use Teams for personal use in the same Teams app, you can do it through those tenant policies. So that is there already today, and that won't change. So you still will be able to do it.
Thank you. Sarah, you're next.
Thank you. I'm sorry I can't interact in the chat, so I have a few questions actually. Joey, I saw you talking in the chat about the fact that you are now opening the Teams communities for the personal MSA accounts only, and it would be a project to open it wider. I would really like to be on that group or that community working on that if you would need me, knowing that I train a lot of organizations here in Belgium. I have clients working on education licenses, as well as clients working on enterprise and on business licenses. So I have lots of things going on. And one of the things that I would really love to be able to do in the future is have like a kind of community in Dutch and in French, which would enable my clients to interact, amongst them, if they could benefit from that, and if their employer agrees, of course. But in many organizations nowadays, what I do, I create a community I create a team within that company, but then the challenge is I can't be on all places at the same time. So it's really hard to manage. And also I need to get in each environment to post a video or to post something. Would be really nice if that would be possible from my tenants. So
Yeah, appreciate you saying that, Sarah, and definitely would love to get your feedback and your ideas as we're exploring here. When we released Teams for personal use, we were very intentional about a ironclad wall between personal and between anything work or school related. And that was obviously very intentional. The customer trust is our first and most important priority across the board. But we do recognize exactly what you stated. Think about a school with a lot of teachers that are in a EDU tenant, to have a parent community that's associated and allow those teachers to engage with a parent community of which they're using personal email addresses, but then also engage with each other and with school administrations. Or think about a brand like Nike that has a huge fan community that wants to engage with their fan community in the personal side, but then do work and have that completely separated on the work side. So it's definitely feedback and requests we've gotten. We're working on it.
Often these big corps also have a large community of freelancers where they're working with, sometimes, working together with other companies, and in a way that you actually would love to have them in your team, but you can't get them because they are on another tenant, or you need a second account. You don't want to know how many accounts I have on my name. It's really a struggle in those cases. So that would be a really nice one. Looking forward to hearing from you on that one. If I could just add one more question, not for Joey, but maybe more for the people from Microsoft in general. Is there a way of checking which of the features, like really advanced things in Excel, new things in Excel or new things in Word, to check whether they are available in education, yes or no?
That is a really good question, and there is not an easy answer. let me try to figure out if we have a single location for EDU. Maybe
Okay.
on support.microsoft.com. That's probably the best location, but I don't know if that something like that exists. If not,
Okay.
I know some of the writers over there, and the leaders. So let me find out for you, Sarah.
Thank you very much in
Yeah.
advance, Lucy.
No. Thank you all. We are at time, so I do have to cut it off. I know we have a ton of questions we couldn't get to in the chat. Our speakers, I'll ask if you could try to respond. I believe folks can still see the chat even though you won't have access to it. Otherwise, you can come and join the tech community, aka.ms/driving adoption. I'm going to drop that link in the chat there right now. You can ask questions there as well. Recordings will be posted up on our Champion Resources site on Thursday, and do give us feedback. There's a feedback link in the pinned chat there. So thank you, our speakers today. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Tiffany, for organizing an amazing discussion again. And have a great rest of your day and week. And hopefully we'll see you at the conference next week. Otherwise, we'll see you next month. Take care.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.